Hello, and thank you for tuning into this special summer story presented by TalkShoe.com. We hope you will enjoy listening to Zoey, a summer camp love story from the newest collection of short stories from Dundurn Press. It is written and performed by Jeremy John. You can find his new book, The Death Swing at Falcon Lake, and s'mores summer stories to make you poop your pants, available at bookstores everywhere. Or visit dundurn.com/JeremyJohn.
Warning: this embarrassing story contains both kissing and smoking. One is disgusting, spreads disease, and is known to be habit-forming. The other will give you lung cancer. I was the shy kid. I didn't have many friends. I didn't fit in anywhere, and that's why my parents sent me to summer camp, to make new friends. Their plan worked, kind of. I only made one friend. Her name was Zoey. She was not shy. Now, she didn't have any friends. She didn't fit in anywhere, but she was okay with that. While I tried to find ways to make people like me, she did what she wanted when she wanted. We couldn't have been more different. And we only met by chance. To be accurate, we only met because I got lost. It was the first free period of summer camp. That's the hour at the end of each day where campers can do anything they want. There was an endless list of things to do, but I didn't have anyone to do anything with, so I went for a walk. I didn't want to go for a walk, but I thought that it was better to be seen like I had somewhere to go than to be seen with nothing to do. I thought that if I walked past the tennis courts, someone might invite me to play doubles, or if I went to the lake, someone might ask me to help paddle their canoe. I couldn't play tennis, and I had never been in a canoe, but in my imagination, either one seemed possible. So I went for a walk and quickly got lost. Like, really lost. I'd been walking for a long time and hadn't seen a sign of any other person. And then I heard noises to the right off the main dirt track I'd been following. I wasn't sure what the sound was. Maybe a campfire, or maybe someone barbecuing, but whatever it was, it made me think it was probably a person. And I had been lost for so long that I was no longer imagining a group of friendly tennis players. I was just hoping for a camp counselor who could direct me back to the camp. But it was her. She wasn't looking for the canoe docks or the tennis courts. She wasn't walking around and hoping to find a friend. She was exactly where she wanted to be, doing exactly what she wanted to do. She had curly black hair tied back with a red scarf, strong eyes, and skin shiny with sweat. It made me think of Rosie the Riveter. Rosie is an iconic poster from the Second World War that encouraged women to work in factories. In the poster, she's flexing her arm while looking directly at you. She is strong, powerful, and self-assured. Rosie wears blue, but this girl was mostly covered in beige. From her neck to her boots, she had on thick beige overalls, splattered with what I thought was reddish-brown paint. She had on brown work boots and huge black leather gloves. Normally, full-body brown, black, and dirty beige doesn't make for a flattering outfit, but on her it was perfect. I don't mean like that. The clothes were massive and clumsy-looking, but exactly what you need when working with extreme heat. See, she was squatting down in front of a blackened metal garbage can that had a propane torch blasting flames into a hole right at ground level. It was a pottery thing called a raku kiln. I didn't know that at the time. All I knew was that it took my breath away. I know it's a silly phrase used in every romantic story, but I really was breathless. Not because of her beauty. I was breathless because I thought I was going to get in trouble. Here she was alone in the middle of the woods with a flamethrower blasting into a trash can. She was totally going to get kicked out of camp. Granted, there was nothing in the camp rules that said campers could not set up flamethrowers in the forest, but, well, I think that was implied. And I reasoned that if she was caught, she would get kicked out of camp. And then I would get kicked out for not telling someone what she was doing. Yes, the prettiest girl I'd ever met, and my first thought was that I should tell on her. I told you this was going to be embarrassing. Anyway, she goes and kicks over the garbage can, and without the can containing it, the propane torch spews out like something from a war movie. Flames are shooting across the ground. The dirt on the space between us is instantly charred by the flames. My mind screamed that I needed to run and find an adult. There was no way she was allowed to be doing this. But unlike me, she was calm, cool, and collected. I was shaking like an unbalanced washing machine, and she was as calm as a yoga teacher. I was drowning in the wave pool, and she was floating on the lazy river. I was Chicken Little, and she was a hawk. Once the flames were out, she puts her tools away, takes off her gloves, and for the first time, she looked at me. Just for a second. Not suspicious, just curious. And she only looked at me for a moment. But in that moment, in that 1 second, I fell in love. The ground disappeared from underneath me, and in an instant, I was in over my head. There is a reason they call it falling in love. It is unintentional, accidental, unavoidable, and it happens so fast you don't see it until you've already hit the ground. When it happens, it is as easy as tripping over your own feet. Then things really got crazy. She walked over to me and she lit a cigarette. I was no longer scared of getting in trouble. I was now terrified of getting in trouble. While the camp rules did not specifically say that campers could not use flamethrowers, the rules were very clear about smoking. I told myself to make a mental note of what she was wearing so that I could point her out to someone of authority later. In case you're unsure, yes, my prevailing thought was still that I needed to avoid getting in trouble. And then she spoke to me. She said, "You're not going to narc on me, are you?" I had no idea what she meant. In case you have no idea what she meant, she was asking if I was going to tell on her, which I totally was. But I didn't know what narc meant. I knew from the way that she asked it was a negative thing. To narc was bad, and I instantly wanted her to think of me as good. I tried to sound confident when I replied, "I would never narc." Silence. Do I look like someone who would narc? A small smile. Me? Narc? No way. I've never narked, nor would I ever narc in the future. She held out a pack of cigarettes. "Do you smoke?" Yes, of course. I had never smoked before. I didn't even know anyone who had smoked. But I said yes without even thinking. Well, I was thinking. I was thinking about how much trouble we were going to get into, but I said yes anyway. Interestingly, I was no longer too scared to speak. In fact, the opposite happened. I couldn't seem to stop talking. I asked her about the blowtorch and the pottery and the trash can. I just wanted to keep her talking, to keep her talking to me, to stay in her company, to continue to have permission to be near her. Again, not just because of her beauty, more because of her, I don't know, is presence the right word? On the first day of summer camp, she headed alone to the middle of the woods, built a blast furnace in a garbage can, and then had a cigarette. I was too shy to say hi to a stranger. I went for walks hoping people would think I had somewhere to be. I asked her name. She said, Zoey. Simple, exotic sounding like a fancy perfume. Only one word was needed, and it could not refer to anyone else, like the names Elvis or Pepsi. I started to think that there was something special about this place. Maybe the forest was magic or wood sprites had put a spell on her. There had to be something at work, something that had to have an otherworldly explanation, an explanation that was something other than she found me interesting, because that was impossible. We talked. She answered my questions, so I asked more. She smoked. When she offered me another cigarette, I told her I was trying to quit. When her sculpture had cooled, she picked it up. It looked to me like she had found the most beautiful jewel in the world. The whole thing had the shine and color of a gasoline rainbow in a puddle. It glittered in the sun, and the random patches of shiny black made the color stand out even more. The technique she used made it look like she had trapped wisps of smoke inside the pottery. It was unlike anything I had ever seen. I told her that, and she kissed me. Apparently, it was a day for firsts. The cliche is that I was walking on a cloud, but that's not how I remember feeling. I felt like John Travolta in Saturday Night Fever. If you've never seen the film, well, you haven't missed much, but John Travolta's strut is excellent. See, in the movie, he's a nobody except when he dances. When he dances, then he's someone special. So there's this scene in the movie when he leaves home and he's walking to the disco. He's leaving a place where he's a nobody and going somewhere where he's a somebody. And you can see all of that in the way he walks down the street. And that's pretty much how the summer went. We hung out as much as we could, most of the time just going for walks. We'd spend our time walking the very same paths that I got lost on that first day. Holding hands, occasionally stopping for a cigarette, often stopping for a kiss. It was perfect. I remember on the last day of camp, other couples were crying, but not us. When the buses arrived to take everyone off to their separate homes, we knew we would see each other really soon. We never even really said goodbye. I got on my bus and she got on hers. But I never saw her again. On the drive home, my parents told me they were getting a divorce. My mother and I would be moving out of the country. When I got home, the house was already packed. We agreed it wouldn't work being so far away from each other. We cried together on the phone, a lot. I cried even more after she hung up. I never did see her again. And I'm not sure I want to. See, things change over time, not just people, but memories too. Maybe after all these years, I don't remember all the details correctly. And maybe that isn't what's important. Maybe it's enough just to remember that feeling. Your feet coming out from under you, being in over your head before you even know you're falling. Maybe it's just enough to remember when falling in love was as easy as tripping over your own feet.
Thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoyed this story from Dundurn Press. It is one of the tales in the collection The Death Swing at Falcon Lake and S'more Summer Stories to Make You Poop Your Pants, available at bookstores everywhere, or visit dundurn.com/JeremyJohn. Recording, editing, and hosting provided by TalkShoe. Everything you need for your podcast is at TalkShoe.com.